Today we're going to talk about duck ponds, and I'm going to give you tips and tricks to consider when building one for yourself. So the question I have is from Cheryl Harless on Twitter. Her handle is Cheryl Harless, at Cheryl Harless with a CHERYLHARLESS. Cheryl, good question is, do you ever build duck ponds? And if so, what do you do differently? And you know, there's something very different about building a big, beautiful pond that attracts the ducks that just show up naturally, and then building a pond specifically for ducks, like let's say that your pets. Because we have built ponds in both situations. If we're doing a very large pond, say it's a half-acre pond, very frequently the ducks will just show up, they migrate in, they hang out, they raise babies, and then they come back year after year. Now, one thing to consider when building a duck pond for yourself, you have to realize that they put an incredible strain on the ecosystem because, you know, they're going to the bathroom in there, they're going on the edges, and they're very hard on aquatic plants. So oftentimes you're using aquatic plants in a natural balanced ecosystem to manage the water quality for the ducks. So that's something that needs to be considered when you're building a pond for them. And I'll tell you, we've done a few duck ponds where the homeowner already has ducks, and they maybe had a preformed pond and they put the ducks in there. They have a hard time keeping the water clean for them, and they're dumping it and filling it. And so what happens is they ask us to come in and build the duck pond. So my first tip for you is, if you can, build the pond prior to getting the ducks. That's critical, because once you already have some ducks, usually you might have babies, you might be collecting more of them, and it's really hard on a system when you have a brand new pond to throw the ducks in there. They're really hard on the nitrogen cycle, which means it's cycling, and as they go to the bathroom in there, the water quality gets off really bad. But if you can build the pond prior to getting the ducks, which I know is really hard to do, but if you can get the pond really balanced out, then you introduce the ducks. It's a big, big difference. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. The second thing is, I'll tell you about a duck pond that we did once. We built this really cool pond, and we put some marginal plants on the sides of it, which were annihilated immediately. But we had this stream coming into the pond, and they built an aviary around the pond section of the duck pond. And we had the stream come out of it, and up on this little hillside, we installed a bog filter with all the different aquatic plants, and we pumped water from the main body of the pond outside the aviary up into the bog, and we sent all the water up through these marginal plants to help manage the water quality back down through the stream and into the pond. The pond balance is really nice like that. So the second thing, the tip that I want to give you is, if you can create an area outside of the pond where maybe the ducks aren't going to mess with, then that's going to help you manage the water quality right there, which kind of that one kind of does both of my last final tip, is to put some kind of enclosure around it. If I was going to be building a duck pond, which I've contemplated many times, the ducks, I would have probably more rare ducks in there. I would probably have like these cute little wood ducks. I mean, they're really super cute, they're beautiful, and they're a little more petite than, you know, say the mallards or the bigger duck species that come in, and they're very, very hard on all your plants. So the little wood duck is really cute, really colorful, and they seem to be a little bit smaller. They're still gonna do damage to your stuff, but of course, you know, not quite as bad. So in my case, when I do build my duck pond, I'll build the pond prior to getting the ducks. I'll have an outside area for all the marginal plants to keep the water clear, and then I would put an enclosure around it and make a little habitat where they can get out and walk around, and they can come back into the pond. That would probably be the best way to do it. It's going to bring me to another question that I got from on Twitter as well, Ryan Kelly, and he is at ArcEllis777. That's ARKELLS777. Ryan wants to know if it would be okay if you cut a tire in half and then you put it in the pond, and it would be like a fish hideaway. And I'm gonna tell you, Ryan, I don't want you to do that. You know, if a tire fell in the local lake or whatever, it's got such a big volume of water, it's probably not gonna be that big of a deal. But in a smaller ornamental pond in your backyard, you don't wanna take the risk of having some toxins come out of that tire as it's soaking in the water. So we don't wanna put tires in our ponds in our backyard. But it brings me to the point is you're going to want to put some fish hideaways in the duck pond as well. The ducks, certainly they might try and eat the fish, but that's not really their main diet. I mean, they're going to be going after other things. They're going to be eating your plants. They might mess with your fish a little bit, but I'm sure you've seen all those videos on YouTube and Facebook where these giant geese are taking bread or food out of the thing and they're putting it in the water and all the fish are swimming underneath it. And so you're gonna have some fish in there, but I would recommend that you put some fish hides in there so the fish can get calm and not be stressed about the ducks coming down and chasing them around. But don't use a tire, okay? All right, that's gonna end it on the duck pond tips and tricks. I am going to ask the question of the day. I wanna know if you are using the new social media app called Periscope. Or are you using Facebook Mentions, which is their competing deal? Now, we just started using Periscope. Before this video we just shot right now, we did a behind the scenes live broadcast on Periscope, and it was really fun. We had people chiming in, asking questions, and I just wanna know if you're using one of these two platforms, and if so, which one do you prefer? Okay, so if you go to Periscope, you can hit us up, of course, The Pond Digger or Eric Triplett. That's how you can find me. And until next time, you know who I am and how to find me. If you want us to answer your questions on the show, hashtag Ask the Pond Digger, blast it on social media, or watch for our Periscope broadcasts. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching.